Right, everyone, how are we doing? It's Sunday, just past 2 o'clock, and Celtic have got another big 3 points. We're now 7 points away from the league title. We scored 4 goals today. We had some scintillating performances individually, certainly in the first half. And yet, I'm very flat, Stevie. And if you allow me to tell you a wee story, I can tell you why that's the case. Sorry, first of all, how are you?
I'm good. I'm excited. Well, I don't know how excited I'm to hear this story. Is it a good one, or is it one I'll just get, or will everybody else be in on it?
No, it's folk probably won't care at all. But basically, me and my pal Lewis, who you know, Stevie, our kind of season tickets are joined together in the ballots and all of this kind of stuff. So for the upcoming semi-final against Rangers, we got one ticket between us. So we then had to decide who would get it out of the two of us. And we could have flipped a coin, but I think I suggested, why don't we do a prediction kind of thing? That seems a bit fairer rather than just flipping a coin for the ticket. So all this week, genuinely, you might not believe me, I have had in my head Kilmarnock 1, Celtic 4. All this week, I've just had a feeling. Woke up this morning, what did I say for my prediction? 3-0 Celtic. What did Lewis say? 4-1 Celtic. So Lewis is going to the Cup semi, he's got the ticket, and I'm left feeling really flat despite Celtic still being amazing. So sorry if I've completely bored you all with that story. I just felt I had to be honest, because you're maybe looking at me going, why is that guy so flat after Celtic have won again? So Stevie, we're going to have to rely on you for the positivity in this video, which I find incredible, to be honest, mate.
Well, after that story, I'm even more drowsy because I've been on this stuff
Oh dear.
all day. I know, it's been terrible. Battle fever out the window. It's all hay fever here. No, honestly, I think
Johnny Hay Fever.
people was that. Oof, worry people just chucking off now. Terrible. No, honestly, I think you have got to be positive. I mean, it was going to be a trickier, difficult game of day, wasn't it? And it was all about 3 points, Hamish. But it was a weird second half. I think talking positives though, that first half hour, we were brilliant. Yeah. I mean, after the press conference on Friday, remember Ange was saying how he wasn't too happy about last week's display against Rangers. They felt we could play better and the overall quality of football wasn't great, he was saying. He stressed that a few times to the media, and then the way that the players came out in that opening half hour, I thought they were brilliant, played some really good football, scored some excellent goals as well, Hamish, and just in general, you were thinking after Matt O'Reilly, I think, made it 4-0, you're thinking, this is going to be another Dundee United. I know it didn't quite work out that way, and people miffed about it. I get that too, and I'll talk about, our demands have went up since Andrews came in because our standards are higher, which is a good thing. I think most fans would be coming away for a 4-1 defeat, Hamish, thinking, oh good, that was excellent, and talking it all up, but we are a different fan base because we're more demanding, and I think that's a good thing. But certainly for the first half hour, plenty of positives. We were excellent.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I think when we came out, I actually thought Kelly kind of started with a bit of intent. They didn't create any big opportunities, but they just kind of seemed to be having a wee go at us. And I'm kind of thinking, this might be a wee, a tough match. And then you have the first goal, which I think is after 7 minutes. I think that was the same minute he scored in the last time at Rugby Park. So, an early goal again. And people will look at the defensive error. I can't remember the guy's name now who gave it away. He had a shocker for Kelly. He was subbed after about half an hour. And people will look at that, similarly to the derby last week, as being a bit of a howler. And it was a really poor pass. But that's what Celtic do to teams, because we press teams and we're so at it, and we plant, so many seeds of doubt into the opposition that these things happen. And that from Kyogo is like unbelievable. To score that first one. The pace he shows to get onto the ball, to run past the player, and then the composure to cut back onto his weaker left foot and to drill it in. I was just kind of, not too many goals kind of make you just jump out your seat and go, wow, that was amazing. But that first goal was like that for me. I just thought it was brilliant.
No, it was class. I think the anticipation that he showed was terrific, Hamish. But what was very good about it was a couple of weeks ago against Ross County, when Kyogo had all that time to think about the one that he put by the post. I'm always thinking with Kyogo, he's such an instinctive player, and he's actually better when he doesn't have time to think about it. But he had loads of time to think about what he was going to do, because he was up there himself, and he's had to take a great first touch to capitalise on the ball, to get the ball by the defender. But he's got so much work to do. And a lot of strikers would have probably hit it on the right, forced the goalie into save, maybe got a corner out it or something. But I think the class, what sets Kyogo apart from so many other strikers is he didn't panic whatsoever. He showed so much composure, and he knew what he was going to do with turning the other defender inside out and putting it into the corner. It was such a great goal, and honestly, there's like very few players, I think, in that position in this league, Hamish, who can score a goal like that, and Kyogo was just outstanding. But that all comes down to the way he read that back pass. See, 9 times out of 10, any other striker there, like that back pass is probably not going to result in a goal if that's any other striker. It just happened to be for that Kilmarnock player that it's going to Kyogo, and it's probably the last player that you do want in that Celtic team to take advantage of it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, the majority of teams, certainly in Scotland, if that kind of pass goes in, it's not leading to a goal. But it's just because we pounce on things. You know, yes, Ange Ball, if that's what you want to call it, is all about, you know, controlling the game, but it's also about reacting to, you know, opponents, you know, making mistakes. And we've seen that in certainly our last 2 games now. Probably, you know, if you go further back as well, we really pounce on errors, and that's something that's really, you know, become, you know, really apparent about this team. So that's 1-0. We then get a second, probably only a few minutes later. This is probably really when you start being critical of Kilmarnock, because I do just want to say, I mean, that first half an hour defensively, they were an utter shambles. The second goal is Maida at the back post. It's soft, but it's a good header from Maida. Our 100th goal of the Premiership season, which is remarkable when you consider we've still got like 6 games to go and we're on 102 now. The record I think we've got in the 21st century is the Invincible season when we hit 106. So we're going to like surge past that. There's a fair chance we like score 4 against Motherwell next week and hit that number, and we'd still have 5 games to go. So that was a good moment. And then after that, it just seemed so easy, didn't it? Matt O'Reilly gets a couple, Kyogo gets a penalty and hits the post, and then Maida misses a sitter for the rebound. It really could have been anything we wanted in that first half.
Aye, it could have, and like that's the thing. Like, you've really got to compliment Celtic's ruthlessness and their mentality to keep going, even after 2 and 3. But at the same time, you can't shy away from the fact that Kilmarnock were dismal as well. They're really bad, and at this point, they're certainly the favourites to go down. And personally speaking, I hope they do, just down to that pitch more than anything in the style of their football. But it's not about them. I think essentially it was just about Celtic's mentality, and you know, easily. So Alistair Johnston was saying on Friday, like that emotional high they were all on after essentially clinching the league last weekend, winning a high intensity game 3-2 like that against Rangers, who threw everything at us. Like, you know, we've seen it before where some Celtic teams after that emotional high, you go to a game like Rugby Park where it's like the complete opposite type of game. You're fully expected to win, and you know you're going to have a lot of the ball, and the tempo is not going to be anywhere near as electric as what it was at Celtic Park that day. But now the players' attitude had to be spot on, and they treated it very seriously. I think they gave Kilmarnock tons of respect, but I mean that's at the same time it was, you know, the players and the, you know, the mentality they showed, they were just absolutely hungry for that one, Hamish. You couldn't tell that we're cantering towards this league. They treated it almost as if, you know, we were neck and neck at this point with Rangers, with the way that they treated that first half hour.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big thing I took away from it, was just the appetite from several players. You're obviously, you know, big fan of appetite as well, aren't you? You know all about that. So, I mean, you must have been impressed with the likes of Iwata and McGregor in that first half.
Oh, I was. I've been shouting about Iwata for like the last few weeks, you know, even before he played in that the final, of course, back in February. But you know how much I've been going on about him. I think he's a class player anytime I've seen him, and I was delighted to see him start the day. But of course, you know, if he did have a howler, I would have said, right, okay, it's the reason that he's not starting. But I thought he came on the day. His movement was exceptional, and anytime he was on the ball, he was just a class act as well. One of the things that I noted too was, let's see, it was about 40 minutes or something. If you watch a game, Hamish, right, we're 4-0 up, and Iwata's movement, not the Kyogo part, that is Kyogo when he obviously tracked back to stop Kilmarnock getting a shot on goal just before they scored. But Iwata was just outstanding with the positions he was taking up, and there was a through ball nearly got to him. But it was just, he's an absolute brilliant player, and he's so smart on the ball, but he's great off it as well. I think he's going to be fitting in so well for us, and I know a lot of people thought about next season with him, but I think, for the next sort of few games, and then in the split, you're going to see a lot more from him, and he's going to get better and better for us.
I thought what you were going to mention there was a moment, certainly at the end of the first half, when he was kind of had the ball back to goal, picked it up off one of the centre backs and just popped it off, and a Kelly player kind of came in late on him. It wasn't even a foul really. It was just a kind of shove in the back, and the Kelly player then. Yeah, but the Kelly player then kind of came over to him and was kind of like, "Oh, sorry about that." And Iwata wasn't shaking his hand. Iwata was just like, "Can you get away from me and get on with it?" And I really liked that part of him, because I think a lot of players in that situation in the modern day game would be kind of high-fiving and all that kind of stuff, whereas I really liked that determination from him. Felt we saw a different sides of his game today as well in terms of that creativity. I don't think we've really seen that from him yet. It's all been kind of neat and tidy stuff, reading the game, moving well, but I really felt today, especially in that first half, and second half when he really nearly scored, great strike. I felt as if we saw a different side of him, saw a bit of creativity, a bit of almost attacking flair. I mean, there was times he was receiving the ball and turning, and as you say, players bouncing off him, holding players off. I really thought he was good. Kobayashi, I thought, had a good game as well. I really like that kind of. He looks really neat and tidy. I still think we need to see him defending more. We've not really seen that in many games, but the stuff he had to do today, he was good, and I think he looks really composed. That's the word I would use to describe him. He's kind of everything I expected him to be honest. Left-sided, really kind of good in possession, carries the ball quite well. I'm just intrigued to see him defending more.
Yeah, there was a moment though today where he did defend really well when he was concentrating. I think obviously we were 4-1 up, but there was a ball swung in from the left, from Kilmarnock's right side in swinger. One of the players was just there waiting to put it in at the back post, and he nodded it behind for a corner, to show that concentration at that level of the game was excellent. But I do agree with you, like a backs to the wall type of performance was still to see from him. But I think the way that Ange wants to play, he wants our defenders to be in the front foot majority of the game, no matter what type of game it is. We saw against Real Madrid, you still get players carrying out the ball for the back, So I think Kobayashi's really good at it, and every time he's played, he's not let us down. But at the moment too, CCV and Starfelt are still unbeaten together, aren't they? And they're the reason that we are going on to win 2 in a row as well.
Yeah, I mean, he came on at Tynecastle, Kobayashi, and I thought he looked good then in the second half, and they were kind of throwing stuff at us that day. So, it's the kind of thing we might not know until he's thrown into that kind of environment, a derby game or a Champions League group stage game. It's maybe just we won't know until then really how good he is. But I am kind of quite impressed so far. Haxa was kind of probably the third player to the kind of inductee into the team today. Probably didn't do a great deal, which is strange to say considering we were so good in that first half. He wasn't bad, but maybe expected a wee bit more given that it was his first start since November.
Yeah, I mean, there's a nice wee weighted ball we played for AJ, who put the ball in for Maeda to make it 2. That was the only sort of positive contribution there. But I would agree. I think it's more with Haksabanovic, though. He prefers, you know what he does, doesn't he? He likes to cut inside onto his right and curl it in. That's the type of player he is. He's more comfortable out in the left. So
yeah, it's a good point you make.
Yeah, I can maybe give him let him off with that one there, playing out in the right. I think if Jota started as well that game too, I mean, we would have been even more clinical because Jota's been in excellent form the last few games. But I would tend to agree with you, Hamish. You can't really talk up an average display from him, but he didn't do anything wrong as such. But you're probably looking for a wee bit more from him, especially when he's not started as many games as he would have liked. Yeah,
I mean, I think the playing on the right, the point there made from Derek, just saying Haksabanovic is left wing, only playing out of position to accommodate Maeda. I think that's an absolutely fair point. And something we should definitely remember, that he was playing predominantly on the right. My only thing with Haxa, and I rate him really highly, is I hope he doesn't turn into an impact-only player. I really want him to be a player who can show all that class from the start, because he's brilliant when he comes off the bench. He scored, I think, certainly 2 screamers in recent weeks. Every time he comes off the bench against tiring teams, he looks electric. He's taking players on, he's lively, he's creating things. And I just hope that he doesn't become a player who only does that. That's my only wee thing. It's not even really a worry, it's just how I feel.
The Solskjaer effect sort of thing, innit? He was
I was going to say Mikey Johnson to an extent. A better Mikey Johnson. But Mikey Johnson had a bit of that.
I just wanted to say at the same time, though, like, I understand Taxibanovic played well, but I really thought that Maeda was outstanding today.
Right.
He looked in the mood from the off. He got his goal, but just in the first few minutes, he looked really in the mood. That boy Lewis Mayo had a torrid time against him, and even in the second half as well, when we went long a few times, we went direct. Like Maeda was pressuring them, and we won a few throw-ins to sort of take the pressure off us a wee bit in defence. I thought Maeda was outstanding today, personally.
Yeah, thought he was good. Seems to quite like Rugby Park as well. Who else would you want to pick out? I just think there was a lot of really strong performances in the first half that didn't really happen in the second. I thought Alistair Johnson in the first half was brilliant. Second half didn't quite happen. Greg Taylor, I thought first half was one of our better players, really picking up good areas. In second half, he was just really poor. It was kind of uncharacteristic. There was one moment when he just punted the ball long, and Ange was just raging at Celtic punting the ball long. But I thought, Taylor had been really good. Alistair Johnson completely cementing Jordan Jones. Did we enjoy that one late on?
I did. I think a lot of people, for some reason, have Jones as a hate figure. I guess it's because of that tackle and Bauer at Ibrox, wasn't it? I think he's just so irrelevant. I think when he came on, it was just who is this guy sort of thing for me.
Still funny though, come on.
Aye, I know. You mentioned Taylor. He picked up a fantastic position, and we'll talk about Matt O'Reilly in a wee minute. I thought he was excellent first half with his 2 goals. Great finishes. Again, just like Kyogo's first, wasn't panicked, so composed, and he just swept the ball into the net for both finishes. But Taylor's picked up a fantastic position to assist Matt O'Reilly for the goal which he put in the low corner past Walker, because I think if you remember, Taylor back in August picked up the same position, I think, when he fed Maeda, who then assisted Kyogo in the 5-0 game. So Taylor was excellent in that first half with the positions that he picked up. But I do want to give a shout out to Matt O'Reilly, especially after I've been a wee bit critical of him in the last few weeks. Put in a decent performance against Rangers. I felt it was far more impressive from him, and then today back to being a goal threat, and that's what we're used to seeing from Matt O'Reilly last season too. So well done to him.
Yeah, thought he was good. I mean, his 2 goals are typical Matt O'Reilly goals, just never in any doubt about either of them going into the back of the net. They looked so easy, and again, the Kelly defending for both of them is horrendous. Let's not overlook that, but O'Reilly can only do what he does, and he takes both of them so well. As I say, just from the minute, and they were both kind of similar. He got them in the box, and there was just never any doubt about either of them. And that's 2 goals for him. He's actually for a guy who didn't score until I think the St Mirren Cup tie in early February. I think he's now got 4 or 5 this season, which obviously isn't brilliant. But when you add on all the assists and given that he's not played that much recently, he is a threat, and it's well documented. He's had stuff going on this year. I know for a fact he's had a kind of back injury earlier on in the season that people didn't necessarily know about. So hopefully today's just the start of him kind of getting back into things. I mean, would he start next week for you against Motherwell?
I think he would. Yeah, I would start the same midfield. Of course, if Hitate's fit as well, and that poses a different question for the manager. But I would start that same midfield against Motherwell, and if Hitate's ready to go, I'd definitely give him the second half, because you'd imagine we'll be comfortable against Motherwell as well. And if I'm saying that, then definitely that must be the case. If I'm not going to be nervous for a game, then we're fine, Hamish. But just want to ask you regarding Matt O'Reilly and his finishes for Celtic. Have you ever seen him like blast the ball or like sort of rattle it? And it always seems to calmly pass it in, doesn't it? It's always the same type of finish.
Yeah. I thought you were going to ask me if he reminded me of someone. Have we had other... Who else always passed it into the net? Mulgrew. I suppose he could rattle it, couldn't he?
No, he liked to rattle it. So that's probably
something about the left foot as well. Something about that, especially when he's on his left foot, he looks really just neat. Both the goals today were left foot. Is that right?
They were, yeah. Haksabanovic, I think, with all his goals for us as well, he's always tend to pass them into the net and all that too.
Yeah. I always just think he's got a bit of Joe Ledley about him, Matt O'Reilly, for some reason. I know they're different players to an extent, but in terms of that breaking late into the box and kind of side-footing away.
The engine as well, maybe.
Yeah. And my other completely daft point is that Rocco Vata looks like Kyogo from a distance. I think because they both have similar kind of hair, and they both have the white Under Armour on under. Yeah, that's kind of it. They look kind of similar. What do you? I mean, he had one good cross in the second half.
Fantastic! What a fantastic ball in, yeah. Always unlucky. I think some people were saying that I saw that he should have finished it, but I think the defender did very well. There wasn't really much you could do. Wasn't much you could do, but it was a fantastic ball in. Yeah. So it was, but I liked the look of that from what I saw, especially just wee things as well, like his movement when AJ or Taylor were taking a throw. He wasn't hiding, so always showing for the ball, and games like that will only help him, Hamish. Hopefully he's involved a lot more till the end of the season.
Yeah, who else did we see sub-wise? We got Moy. A few people asking about Moy. TJ the legend, their thoughts on Moy. Kind of looked a wee bit off it again, I thought, but hopefully he can just ease back into it after missing a couple of weeks. Turnbull thought was alright, kind of industrious, but nothing really properly came off. We got Ben Summers as well, making his debut, and I don't think he touched the ball, but good to get these young players on and giving them a chance. There was always a fair chance that was going to happen today, given that we were missing, probably 6-7 first team players from the matchday squad.
I see the guy who was saying thoughts on Moy. One of the things I picked up is Aaron Moy has been just unplayable. He's been fantastic for us for months up until last week. And then obviously today doesn't start. And I think it's a testament that, the Celtic team, the strength we've got now, like the fact that we're now talking that Moy against Motherwell, even if he's fully fit, next week there's no guarantee that he'll go in the park. He'll be starting anyway. And I think that's a good thing when you do talk about our strength and you see the numbers there. That can only be a good thing for the manager. I mean, it's not like anybody's writing off Moy, but it's just like a couple of, average games. That's poor against Rangers, yeah. And he was okay today, didn't do much wrong, but didn't really influence the match. It was all done, but I think that's just the strength where we are now. That's a good sign that you've got a guy like Aaron Moy who's been outstanding for like 3-4 months. Now there's questions that will he get in next week? So that is where you want to be ultimately as a team, Hamish.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of when you chat about the best Celtic 11 as well, it kind of makes a mockery of all of that stuff because it's always changing, and obviously it's not a case of a first 11 really, it's the 16 who will play every match and make an impact. Having said all that, looking at we've got Motherwell next week, but I think we're all looking at the semi-final in a fortnight. Who's your ideal midfield at this stage?
I want to see Awata. I think it's about the balance too, but I think McGregor's obviously going to start. If Hatate is fully fit, you've got to have Hatate in there because he will kill them. And it's all about who plays alongside Hatate and McGregor.
It's tasty though because you've got O'Reilly playing well, you've got Moy who'll probably be better, and obviously Awata. And, it's going to be interesting. I
think at this point it would be Awata, but anything can happen between now and then. There's injuries and other players could come right into form. Awata could have a howler against Motherwell. It is, the cliche and coming here one game at a time stuff. But I'm with you. I mean, there's one eye on that semi-final. For the now, though, it would be Awata, McGregor and Hatate. But again, there's so many questions and things that could happen before then. Hamish, who's yours?
I don't really know, to be honest. I think, if they're all fit, Hatate would 100% be in it. McGregor obviously would as well. I could honestly make a claim for all three. I think if O'Reilly has a big game against Motherwell, you kind of can't really, not play him. But equally, Wata's looked really good, and Aaron Moy was so influential in that cup final victory over them, creating the 2 goals effectively. I would maybe even lean towards Moy, but he would have to be improved next week. So it's just as well we are not paid to make these decisions, Anjas. But Ian bringing up, second half. I don't want to spend long in this, but it was frustrating. I mean, we're not gonna tell lies. I just thought second half, we were awful. I don't really know what happened, because it's something you can't often accuse this team of kind of not playing with that same intensity, but we so clearly just didn't have it. And Kelly had probably the best chance of the half, the one where Joe Hart makes a good save. It could have finished 4-2. And I just thought it was slightly disappointing, but I guess it's all relative in the grand scheme of things. It's a 4-1 win away from home.
Aye, it's like I said at the start, you're right, you can't shy away from it, and I can understand people being disappointed in that second half performance, especially, what we saw against Dundee United earlier in the season, and it's a weird position to be in. We've got 3 points and that was it, first and foremost, Hamish, but you're looking for 90 minutes of a really assured performance, and I guess we only really get 40 odd, but I think there was a moment about 50 minutes that I wouldn't say influenced the rest of the second half, but it was so strange where Maeda was taken it by a defender and the defender just fell over himself and then F blew for a free kick, and you know what incident I'm talking about now.
There's a few of them.
If Maeda cuts her back and Ower hacks a score, 5-0, 5-1, sorry, 50 minutes, and Kilmarnock are probably deflated after that. We get a bit more confidence and you want to go in for the kill after it. So I don't know what is pinpointing that specific moment, but stuff like that didn't help. But it was just very stop-start, and David Dickinson was just obsessed with giving Kilmarnock sort of free kicks in the halfway line, like every 2-3 minutes as well. But ultimately, I can understand why people were a bit annoyed at the second half performance, but ultimately it was about the 3 points, wasn't it?
Yeah, he's not the real deal, that David Dickinson, is he?
Grown.
Aye. Grown indeed. Starfelt had a big chance as well in the second half. I mean, that we should have scored that. Really should have scored that. So, and obviously the 0-1, even Johnson late on in the game blazes that over the bar. So we did still create chances, but overall, another really good day. We're 3 points closer. A reminder, everyone, the headline here is Kilmarnock 1, Celtic 4. We're now 7 points away from winning the league. It's really 6 because of our goal difference, but we need 7 to be crowned champions and to be able to celebrate properly. And, if we win next week, we're down to 4. So it's going to happen. The scenes at the end of the game were actually pretty good. I don't know if you stayed and watched them on Sky Sports. Oh, no, you were watching on Celtic TV today, weren't you?
I was, yes. For anybody that doesn't know here, that while I may be the big dog in 6-7 hail in this household, I'm relegated to the bench because my daughter was playing some VR thing and watching something on YouTube in the living room, so I relegated to the bedroom to watch it on Celtic TV. But yes, Hamish, fill me in on the scenes that I missed.
It was good. I mean, Ange kind of came over, did his usual fist pumping, and the fans were all singing that Champions Again, Ole Ole, which, by the way, is one of my favourite songs. It's so simple, but it's just so Celtic this century. And Ange was giving it a bit of this, bit of this kind of, come on, louder. And I just thought, he'll know what they're singing. He'll be able to obviously hear their, 4,000 odd singing it 30 yards from him. He'll know what they're singing, Champions Again. I just thought it was the first kind of one from him this season of, we're going to be champions, enjoy it. And we've got all this to look forward to, mate, because it's going to happen and it's going to be amazing. Final thoughts, Stevie?
It's another one ticked off, and as you say, it is going to be amazing. It's going to be fantastic to win 2 in a row. Obviously, somebody like me is no longer anxious, and getting into this game, I even did think it would be a stroll in the park, and I think, on paper it was anyway, Hamish. And as you say, there's another very important game coming up, but obviously winning 2 in a row would be great, but if we can go one step further and win that Scottish Cup, what a end to the season it would be. Really looking forward to seeing it. Really looking forward to hoping these players can do it as well. Did
Stevie bring the cheer, everyone? I think I know the answer to that. You did all right. All the best for your treatment for hay fever. Not fun, that, so hopefully you feel better. We'll be back tomorrow. Well, I'll be back tomorrow, so just the usual kind of next day reaction. If you have any thoughts on the game, just comment on the video and I will do my best to talk about them tomorrow. So thanks very much, everyone, and we'll speak to you then.